Caroline come up from Jackson Mann. Caroline, please introduce yourself.
I'm a little taller. Is that good? Yes. So good morning, everyone. My name is Caroline. Do you mind if I move this so I can see the slides? Yeah, I made sure of that while I was sitting there. So my name is Caroline. I'm program director at the Jackson Mann Community Center. This is my first year as program director, but my third year at Jackson Mann. I was a teacher, an advisor, and now a director. So we are going to talk about how we build a culture of belonging. And we'll start just giving a brief overview of the organization. I'm sorry. So the Jackson Mann was founded in 1976, and our adult education program has been operating since the 80s. I don't know the exact date, but we've been around for over 40 years, offering ESOL and high-set classes. All of our classes are in the evening from 6 to 9 p.m. The high-set classes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the ESOL classes are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Our ESOL program is funded by DESE, and we are funded for 100 seats, but we usually over-enroll. So when I made the slides, it was 116, but you guys know at the end of the year, we tend to lose students. I think we're at 109, if I'm not mistaken. So for this presentation, I'm going to focus a little bit more on our ESOL classes and our ESOL students. So yes, so the student demographics, this has changed in the past couple of years. I think in the past, most of our students were from Central and South America, mostly Central America, with very little schooling, and this has changed drastically in the last year. So if you look here at the chart, I don't think the age has changed much. We have almost 67% of our students are between the ages of 25 and 44, and I think we have almost 19 between 19 and 24. That has always been our age group, but the number of countries that our students have come from, lot more places. So we actually have students from all over the world. These are the countries, not students served this year, but just who are currently enrolled. So it's over 20 countries and more than 10 different languages. So this is very exciting, but it also brings a lot of challenges, that we're learning to deal with. And I think the biggest and I think the biggest change for us in terms of demographics is the students' education level. So if you've seen the graph that 29% of our students actually have a foreign degree, this has never happened before. We have fully enrolled level 5 and level 6 classes with wait lists. So this has never been seen before at the Jackson Mann. And we have 8% who have some post-secondary education and 25% who have a high school diploma. So this also exciting and challenging, but it brings other challenges for our classrooms because at the end of the day, even if we level them by their English abilities, they're still a multi-level class. Because they progress at different times, they have different study skills, and they need different types of support. So yes, now we can go to the next one. What about the staff? Oh, there we go. So our staff is actually just as diverse as our group of students. We are a pretty small staff, and I'll say the numbers even though they're percentages. But we have 3 full-time staff, which is me, the learning specialist, who is also our level 5 teacher, who is from Romania, and we have our advisor, who is a first-generation American from a Korean family who speaks fluent Spanish because he lived in Argentina. And we have teachers from Algeria, Iran, Brazil. So we're very lucky to have a team that is so diverse. In our staff, everyone speaks at least another language. We have a high-set teacher who was born in China, grew up in Indonesia, speaks 4 languages, migrated to the U.S. While she was in college. And even our US-born teachers, they're world travelers. Some of them have lived abroad. You know, we have our level 4 teacher. She spent 2 summers in Italy perfecting her Italian, but she also speaks a little bit of Arabic. So we're very lucky to, you know, have such a diverse team and people who are culturally sensitive. And I think even though, you know, we're beginning, you know, trying to implement these principles of inclusion, and we don't really have any policies around hiring, but during our interviews, we ask questions like, what do you think the purpose of a program such as this is? Or how do you envision the impact that you're gonna have in the students' lives? So we can learn a little bit about their values, because that's important to what we're trying to build here. So I think our values now. So what are our values? So earlier this year, we did a exercise as a team where I asked them, why do you work here? And what do you want to achieve while you're here? So we started, you know, talking about our experiences, because, you know, some of the staff migrated as a kid, some as adults, some, you know, grew up in an immigrant family. So talking about all these different experiences, we started like jotting down a bunch of notes and trying to find common traits. And then we agreed on these 4 values. And this is something that just guides us into like, while we're making decisions, you know, in the program. So the first one is independence. And I think this one is very important to me personally, because I always say that I had to learn how to be an adult all over again when I came to the US, because even though I spoke English, there's just so much more. Just knowing how to speak English is not enough. So independence is important to us because we want to teach our students how to do things, not do it for them. So the way that we give them support, you know, this is something that we have to keep in mind. I always tell them, like, don't babysit. Don't be their secretary. Teach them how to do it, because you're not always going to be around. And we have to remember that they are part of communities who are also new to this, and they're also exposed to a lot of misinformation. So a way for us to make greater impact is to teach them so they can take that back to their communities as well. Dignity came from our conversations around how a lot of immigrants, they kind of lose their sense of self-worth. When they come here, they think that, you know, their possibilities are very limited. They can only do certain things or work certain jobs. So we kind of have to help them dream a little bigger sometimes and try to help them achieve those dreams. Community building, because we want our students to feel like they are a part of a community, and we want to be the people that they can count on. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job, because even former students, they still come back to us when they need help with anything, really. And connection is not so much about connecting to other people, but connecting to themselves. We had this very interesting conversation about how when we immigrants, we come to the US, we kind of lose the connection that we have with our essence as we're trying to understand who we are in the United States and, you know, kind of create this, you know, new identity. The way I identify myself in Brazil, I'm from Brazil, by the way, is very different from, you know, who I am and what box I fit in here in the US. So we were talking about, like, what are ways that, you know, we can help them with that. So how do we practice that? And we can, am I okay on time? So I'm not going to read all the slides, but see, these are some of the things that we try to pay attention to. And again, we don't really have any policies or a very structured, you know, way of going about the program. We have these guiding principles for now. We do want to get there and have more robust policies around this, but we're not there yet. But we're trying to do small things to build this culture. So listening is the big thing, right? I think I'll start by saying that we actually made mistakes trying to be inclusive and diverse. in our presentations in the past, we used to be able to translate to Spanish and Portuguese, but we had speakers of other languages, Russian, Arabic, Haitian Creole, who actually just stood up and left during presentations because they feel like they didn't feel like they were part, you know? So we stopped doing that. We don't do interpretations because we can't offer interpretations to everyone, but we do printed materials instead during presentations. So that way we can make sure that every student has access to the information. And at the end, if we have to use Google Translate, we really rely on Google Translate. We just hope it's doing a good job. So for Q&A, we're able to use Google Translate to do that. Whenever we have to make decisions around a program design or we're trying to offer new services, we do student surveys. So for example, trying to find the best way to deal with the such different educational levels, we started offering tutoring sessions to students who, you know, have a little bit more trouble progressing. So we did a survey with students asking them, would you be interested in a service such as this? Would you use it? When would you be available to use it? So we're always going to students asking for their help as we're trying to, you know, design a program. We also do student evaluations, you know, twice a year. We actually started a student council it was launched, the elections were in February. Each class elected a representative. You know, they had the class elections, they had the candidates make speeches, and, you know, so now the student council is meeting twice a month, and they're working on how we can recreate our attendance policy. And they are informing our curriculum revision. So they're going to, you know, their classmates asking for their opinion and bringing it back. So, you know, we're having this conversation, as well as trying to educate them on, so the meeting is actually two parts. One is kind of like civic education, and the second part is, you know, them bringing information to us. But we want them to be able to advocate for themselves and learn how to be part of these community groups, you know. So like we have the meeting kind of like a board meeting, and, you know, they learn how to speak at a community meeting and things like that. Another way that we talk to our students, I think informal conversation is where we build most of our culture, you know, and by informal conversation, just be there, be in the hallway, greet them, you know their names, hear their stories, follow up on their stories. They really like that, to know that you're listening. So I think just being there, you know, open and present, and the students feel like you are someone, you know, the staff is someone that they can count on. And we see a lot of that in the student evaluation. We have a bunch of questions that we ask about the program. We have a lot of open-ended questions as well, just like, do you have anything to share? Or why do you like Jackson Mann, or something like that? So they can write. And they're usually like very grateful for the opportunity. They mention staff by name because, you know, our advisor helped me do this, or my teacher helped me do that. And then we actually had an evaluation 2 weeks ago, and for the first time, we had students mention how they love the diversity of our program and how they love being in contact and learning about other cultures. So, you know, my third year there is the first time I see this, so I'm like, yes, we're doing it. Another thing, the WhatsApp groups, everyone uses WhatsApp, but one of our students last year actually asked us to create WhatsApp for different languages, because we were sending all translated information and translated flyers to those class groups, and they were missing information. So nowadays we have like JMCC Portuguese, JMCC Russian, JMCC Nepali, and we send this information. And then students can also reply in their language. Again, Google Translate. And I think it makes them a little bit more comfortable to have, you know, those conversations as well. And I think I only have one more, right? Yes. So celebrate diversity. So I think we celebrate diversity in the classroom. I have a picture here oh, sorry, I didn't mention, the previous picture was a student council. So here we have a program wall. So, and we have them translated into major languages. We have 7 different languages. So here is how the program works, where the money comes from, because again, we want them to be actively participating, but they can't help us make decisions if they don't understand how the system works. You know, I don't want them to ask me to implement crazy ideas, you know, if we don't have funds. So we're really trying to educate them, understand how this works, so you guys can help us build a better program. And this is something we did in the beginning of the year. What are your goals? We put a bunch of colored paper in the wall, and then students could come and write their goals for the year. So inside the classroom, we've been, you know, and this is something that, you know, I think we've been doing for a lot of years, but teaching about holidays, you know, Ramadan and Nowruz, the Persian holiday, and the Chinese holiday. But what has shifted a little bit is that we're trying to make these student-led activities. So, and we don't ask students to, you know, present on their culture and country, even though we do have those presentations as well. But we kind of invite students to share about their culture, you know. So teachers bring a lesson and kind of give, you know, the stage to the students so they can share about their customs and traditions. And we've gotten really positive feedback. The students actually go back to teachers and like, oh, thank you for the opportunity. It was exciting, you know, to teach the class about this. Our last Thanksgiving, our level 6 class had a potluck party, but then they brought dishes from their country, and they had to explain each one of these dishes, and then they took turns going to the board and teaching their classmates how to greet in their language, how to count to 10, and funny expressions. So they got to explain, you know, oh, this is something we say, and teach the class. It was pretty interesting because this class alone has 7 different native languages, so they were busy for some time. But it was really interesting to see, and I was there. I participated, and it was interesting to see that even though they were sharing about their culture, someone always found something in common with theirs. So even though we were talking about differences, in the end, we're finding all the things that kind of bring us together. And I thought, you know, that was just awesome. I think I'm out of time. I have lots of stories to tell. Be here all day if you guys want to talk to me later. Yeah, we have other things on our slides, but yeah, I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you.